Alright, what I'm going to do is when I start a new project from the top, we're going to do this whole thing from top to bottom, and you can always just follow along through the recording. So I'm going to start a new Universal 3D SRP project. Please do not use built-in. Now, while we are waiting for Unity to open, you need to go to Mixamo. So what we want to do is head to this Characters tab up here, and you can browse through their catalog of characters. Now, I want to jump to page 3 because I want a character with a prop. This one here, Paladin. Okay, he's got the sword and shield, and that will be useful later on. What we can do is download that file, big orange button, top right, and then download just the standard options. Now, once you've got the character in its T-pose, we can also head to the Animations tab. And I want you to grab an idle. I want you to grab an attack animation. I think that's probably actually it for now. You could also grab an extra fidget animation. But like, for example, if I just put idle up here, right, I can find all sorts of idles. Now, we don't want one like this that doesn't have a looping pose. You see how it goes into an action stance and then it just cuts back to the original pose? That's going to be a problem. We want one that loops, like this breathing idle. Then when you choose that, you can even dictate the kinds of attributes that this animation has. Like, I can reduce the breathing and the sway, for example. When you're happy with an animation, or if you need a new one and you're coming back later, hit download, and what you want to do is download it without skin. And set the keyframe reduction to uniform. Hit download. Now what I'm going to do as well is grab one of these, either sad or happy idle. They're a little bit over the top for me personally, but that's okay. We just needed to demonstrate our fidget animation. Maybe I'll grab this one where he's bored. Download. At this point, Unity has opened up, and so what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to open the window, Package Manager, and we're going to go to My Assets, because at this stage you should all have used the link to get this Starter Assets third person character. If you have not, I'll try to remember to put the link in the description and hit import. It's going to say it's got a bunch of dependencies. These are extra, I guess, sub packages that this relies on. So we're going to say install and upgrade. Now, because this is an older version of Unity, it's probably, it's going to come up with this warning. They've changed input systems between Unity 5 and 6, which means it wants to turn them on. That's what this warning is saying. To do that, it will need to restart the editor, so say yes. That is crucial. If you say no, your character will not work as intended. So when it restarts your editor and switches to the new input system, you need to go back and import it again. And then say install and upgrade, and then hit import on all these assets here. Now that it is in project, we can go find the playground scene by going into Starter Assets, Third Person, Scenes, double click on Playground. If all your materials are pink for whatever reason, come up to Edit, Project Settings, and then we want to find Graphics, and please make sure that you have a URP asset pipeline plugged in here. If you do not, or it's missing, you need to hit the dot and plug one of them in. Sometimes that can unlink, meaning there is no render pipeline assigned, meaning your materials will default to be materialless. And when something doesn't have a material, it's going to show up as pink. At this point, you should be able to hit play up on the top and possess your character. Now, as a demonstration, if this is not my active window, as in I have currently been clicking around in here somewhere in one of these other toolbars, I'm holding WASD and nothing is working. I can't control my character. This is because it is not the active window. You need to actively click in to the game scene. There we go. Now I can walk around. I'm going to hit escape, which lets me get my mouse back, and I'm going to close that simulation. Our character is working. I now need to change the mannequin to our new character. So to do that, I'm going to head on back to starter assets, third person. We're going to go into character, models, and this is this model here, the armature. Okay, this mannequin. Now let's go into our downloaded folders where we had those animations we got from Mixamo. Let's drag and drop in our paladin. Drag, drop. Now our paladin here is untextured. See, it's like a grey preview. If I were to drag that in to the scene, you'd also see that it is untextured. Now to texture this paladin is quite simple. The textures were packed in to its FBX file when we grabbed it from Mixamo. So to get those or extract them, we click on the model in the content browser. We go up to materials on the top right. We click extract textures, select folder, and then if this warning for the normal map comes up, say fix now, then extract materials, select folder, now that that's done, we can take a look a little bit more closely at our paladin and notice that something about the rendering doesn't look quite right. It's very dark, it's very dull. If we click on the material sphere that we've extracted, we can see that it is using a metallic workflow. Now, metallic is generally the preferred workflow these days, but this character was made a while ago and uses a specular map, and we know that because it quite literally says Paladin Specular. So what we need to do is click on our material, swap it from metallic to specular, and plug in, drag and drop, our specular map into the surface input. And then what that does is add the specular highlights to the armor, so now you can use the smoothness to control how reflective those surfaces are. Cool. Now this alone will not be enough to get this character working with this mannequin, because all I've done is put a mesh out onto the scene. I'm going to click on that mesh and I'm going to delete it now because we don't actually need it. Oops, I've just selected the body. Let me try that again. There we go. I need to take that model and put it in this prefab here. Now a prefab in Unity is a collection of assets packed together. It's like a group in Unreal. And so what we're going to do is head back to third person, prefabs, and we are looking for this prefab here called player armature, and I want you to double click. Double clicking on the player armature takes us into an edit mode. You'll see the environment has changed. And in the hierarchy on the left, I want to delete these two things. I want to click on skeleton, and I want to hit delete. And I want to click on the armature mesh, and I want to hit delete. Then I would like for you to navigate to third person, character, models, and where we imported our paladin, I would like you to drag and drop the paladin into this geometry. Now you'll see that our paladin has replaced the Unity armature. And if you're wondering where did that skeleton go and how come we don't need that, well, the paladin has its own skeleton packed in when we downloaded it from Mixamo. So it is in there, it's in a different order. Okay, that's one part of the process. If you were to hit play now, it's still not going to quite work. And you're going to look like an Oblivion character that bugged out. Why this is we need to swap our model from using a generic or its own imported rig to using a standard Unity humanoid rig. Now there are multiple ways of using rigs inside of Unity, and I could take the original rig of this character in, but I want to use the Unity humanoid rig because it already has all the blend modes, the idle, the walk, the run animations, the jump fall packed into it. So we want to utilize those. Now how I'm going to do that is I'm going to click on my paladin here, the model, and I'm going to switch to the rigging tab. And you'll see here it says animation type generic. I want to swap that to a humanoid and click apply. Swapping this rig to a humanoid rig now makes it compatible with the Unity standard humanoid rig which the armature was using. But there's still one more thing we have to do, and that involves plugging in the avatar. Now what we've done is we've swapped this to use a standard humanoid rig which creates an asset called an avatar, and that avatar needs to be plugged in to our prefab. So now I want you to go back to the third person controller, prefabs, and I want you to click on your player armature prefab again. Now on the right hand side you're going to see that it says armature avatar. Now that was the avatar associated with the old mannequin, the one that we just deleted, which is why our character is still T-posing. So I want you to hit the dot and swap it with the paladin avatar. Okay, and now with those steps complete, if I hit play, I should no longer be in my T-pose, but instead I'm now using, or borrowing, let's say, the animation set from the mannequin. Okay, including the exact same walk cycle, the exact same run cycle. And out of the box, those are pretty good, you know. For 5 to 10 minutes work, that gets you a very usable third-person character.